I wanted to talk about global warming, and you had brought up the most recent issues among the U.S. with the whole Iran issues.
Yeah, Operation Midnight Hammer.
So, would you like to, because you seem really interested in that, would you like to get started on talking about...
I'm interested in both. I think climate change...
Of Iran?
Yeah. No, I'm interested in both. I'm honestly cool with either. So, dealer's choice, my love. Which do you want?
Okay. So hopefully I don't forget what we're supposed to be talking about later on, but we could start with the Iran bombing of the nuclear power plant.
Okay. Yeah, so essentially I listened to the press conference today, June 23rd, that the Pentagon held. I didn't listen to Trump's...
Did you just say the Pentagon wrong? Did you say Pentagon? With the C?
I don't think so, but...
I think you did. Well,
okay.
We can always listen to it later.
All right. But I didn't listen to the one that Trump held, and apparently there might have been some... different information between the two, or at least
surprise.
Like the way that it went might have been a little different, but essentially
I'm only laughing because I'm inebriated, because this is not a laughing matter. So
all right,
I just wanted to set that straight.
Very well. Set the tone.
Yeah,
on this conversation.
If I was not inebriated, I would not be laughing.
Okay,
so just wanted to put that out there.
Very well. So, Operation Midnight Hammer.
It's such a cool name with such a dark reasoning behind it.
Well, I mean, can you think of any military operation that doesn't have a dark reasoning behind it? It's literally, it's the military is used to kill other people because of opposing viewpoints. But so essentially what Operation Midnight Hammer is it was an attack on 3 different nuke sites in Iran. The reason that I consider this as a historic event is a few different reasons. One is we used 125 U.S. aircraft participated in this event.
We went hard.
Yes. It was one of the highest shows of OPSEC, or operational security, because it was a fully secret mission, essentially. It was truly something that was planned out in months to weeks, and in 2 days they were given a go signal, and then that was it. They immediately went in and set this all up. So it was the other historical fact is it was the largest B-2 operational strike in U.S. history. So our B-2 bombers.
Did you see how there was commentary that this was essentially to demonstrate or remind the world of the U.S. Military power?
I mean, it certainly did that. I wouldn't say that was the main goal, but it was certainly a subset part of it. The U.S. has, I don't want to say always, but the U.S. has held very strong military
presence.
Power. Yeah. And they've truly been one of, if not the only world presence, because I don't know any other military that has as large of a navy that can go to any part of the world within hours. I don't know any other nation that is capable of doing that. The U.S. is truly still...
Isn't Japan up there with us?
No, they don't have a large enough navy or force to be anywhere in the world at once.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know to argue with you.
No, all good.
But I'm just gonna have to blindly agree.
So we also utilized MOPS, MOPs, and these were
MOPS too. My military.
So these were unique penetrating bombs. So they actually were bunker busters that went deep into the ground to destroy.
These exist? Are you meaning to tell me
we're the only people in the world that have this technology?
For now.
Yeah, for now, for sure.
But what you're telling me right now is that all the billionaires who decided to recently put bunkers into their private property, which everyone who was watching this happen on social media said that if they're doing this, they know something we don't. This was months ago. And here we are with the Iranian bombing. So Just saying, that's not a coincidence. They were told.
Okay, sure.
But-
I 100%. That is all Becca's opinion. I do not think that billionaires having an obscene amount of money and looking at safety in a world where a nuclear arsenal exists, and also just in general, like, you have money, you have all these equipment and knowledge of the world. I don't know. I certainly wouldn't connect this
Of course
bombing
I
to
would
that.
connect it, because you have to, if you're going to try and rebuild society, of course you're going to try and keep the rich alive. But anyway, it's not a coincidence.
Okay.
Emo.
So, regarding the OPSEC of it, one thing that I found really, really interesting is that we sent the B-2 bombers came from Missouri, by the way.
Blommers.
So it was an 18-hour flight, and they actually shot out 2 different groups of B-2 bombers in different directions as a misdirection, so that way, even if someone was tracking the B-2 bombers, they still wouldn't know what the actual target was.
You seem really fascinated on the technical aspect behind it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's the most interesting thing. I mean, think about it.
You don't think that the most interesting thing would be the whole reason behind the bombing?
So, all right, yeah, so we can totally go into that. So, the reason behind the bombing was essentially Trump stated that Iran cannot have a nuclear arsenal. Like, that is essentially what it was. And then there was our intelligence agencies, as well as Israel's intelligence agencies, stated that, and I'll make this very clear, Iran did not actively have a nuclear arsenal. What they did have is they had enough enriched uranium to be fully operational within weeks.
So he was more afraid of the potential they had.
Yes,
because it sounds like they didn't have what he was afraid of them having.
Let's call it what it is. If I buy all these weapons and I do all this research and development, you know what I mean? Like, it's very clearly, like, they were weeks out. It's not like they were years out from having this technology. Weeks in a country that is actively bombing Israel right now, that's a huge risk. Because I'm not going to say that I know that they would have used the nukes, because obviously I don't. All I'm saying is that someone that is an aggressor in a war, having such a powerful arsenal is a risk that I certainly wouldn't want. Like, if I was Israel...
Are you essentially agreeing with the bombing?
With my... I don't like giving personal opinions. I just like giving out, like... I don't want to say facts
you don't like
either.
giving personal opinions
about stuff that I'm not well versed in. I don't know a ton about everything going on.
Like, you're afraid of public backlash, or what?
No.
Like,
I'm stupid. Like, I don't know enough about topics to give my full opinion on them. I can absolutely do research and give the findings that I have, but as far as giving a personal opinion, I'm much more reserved. In this situation, I understand where they're going with. Iran is actively with Hamas and with all of them that are essentially located there in Iran that have connections with the government. For them to actively be in a fight with our allies, Israel, with our intelligence agencies as well as Israel finding these different bunkers, identifying that the risk is real. I mean, having enough enriched uranium to bomb places that you're already bombing. Like, let's not make it seem like these are peaceful. Once again, I don't want to overly simplify the situation, but this country is actively at war, essentially, with Israel, so our ally. They are gaining a nuclear arsenal and actively researching and developing to develop it, and they have all the pieces in place to create it within weeks.
What if that wasn't what their motives were? I'm not saying
you want to play devil's advocate.
No,
that's sure what it sounds like.
It's not like I'm trying to defend them. I'm actually curious, like, what if that wasn't their
No, I know.
motive?
I'm saying you're like, it's devil's advocate, like you're looking at a different side of it.
Yeah, like, what if they were accumulating these supplies essentially to create maybe a nuclear power plant for better efficient energy, because I know that was, like, on the table.
I cannot comment on that. They didn't state it at all in the press secretary.
Of course they're not going to state it in the press secretary, because they have to state what they think Americans will side with.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like, all I'm going to say is, if there's a country that's actively bombing another country, like, it's not like they're in peace looking to get uranium. They are actively at war. Oh, and by the way, right after the bombing, they immediately bombed Israel again. So, like, there was no chill with these guys. So the other interesting thing, sorry, we got a little off topic, but it was interesting. The other really interesting thing is that we utilized 125 different aircraft. The B-2 bombers flew 18 hours from Missouri all the way to Iran. They hit the 3 objectives, which were the 3 nuclear arsenals that were there.
18 hours.
And
18 hours. Not
did
even
multiple
first class.
and they did multiple refuels in the air. So, like, the way that the B-2 bombers and
That they have naval ships that meet them overseas, correct? And they
can, yeah.
They just fuel them in the air.
So they'll set up other ships and other aircraft will do it. So, like, a C-130 will go next to the bomber, and then it'll shoot out essentially a cable, and it connects them, and that's how they refuel sometimes. I don't know if that's how they did it every time. I know they did do aerial refueling, though. I don't think they actually landed on the ships to refuel.
So, so this bombing. Now, the press conference has released that it is regards to the threat of nuclear warheads. However, earlier statements. Fuck, what was his name? Oh, sorry, I actually didn't want to curse, but there was a government official who stated that we bombed Israel, and he might have been putting his foot in his mouth. I don't know, but we bombed Israel because of the rehappenings of redirected air traffic, and it was disturbing air traffic flowing. So when he said that, of course, many people got pissy because they were like, that's not a good enough reason to go bomb a country, right? Thankfully, your wife has enough common sense to think there's more behind this, and has a little bit more faith in our American government than I should give them. But but I figured that there's no way we actually bombed the country for air traffic being disrupted. I was talking about this to a colleague, and he was like, well, I think you give a little too much faith there.
I got you. Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't heard that story, so I don't have any info on it. Regarding the mission, though, so with Operation Midnight Hammer, one of the reasons why it was such a success, we didn't take any losses.
Oh, yeah, because it was a secret mission.
It was a secret mission, and then their air surface defense systems were already down, mostly because of their fight with Israel. So Israel actually set up a lot of what made the mission go as smoothly as it did. Same for the aircraft. They didn't even shoot at us. Like, as far as getting any aircraft in the sky to defend themselves. Like, and you gotta think about it, these were nuclear bunkers. Like, you would think that as far as a country would go, these would be one of the highest defended areas, and that's one of the reasons why right now the U.S. is, I don't want to say cheering, but
celebrating.
Very much is. It was a very positive show of force for the U.S. It was saying, like, hey, I want to make sure that you guys don't forget that if our president says something, like, it's business that's going to be able to get backed up. And that's essentially what the U.S. military showed in this.
Why wasn't there more push for peaceful negotiation?
Oh, there was. No. So they had a full 60-day negotiation, and Iran was stonewalling the negotiation talks. On the other hand, though, like, first off, I'm not trying to make it seem like they were, like, completely unfounded. The negotiation was literally, you will not have nukes.
So it wasn't a negotiation.
Correct.
It was an order.
Yes. Like, I want to make it very clear, the way that I perceive this information, it very much was, no matter what, Iran is not getting nukes. The negotiation was, how do we deal with this now that you have the uranium? You know what I mean? Like, it's not,
It wasn't a negotiation.
I mean, there are two people sitting in a conversation.
They call it a
I don't know.
negotiation, but that would be like, let's not pick grains of sand right now, okay? Because while there were two people in a conversation, it would be like if you and I were arguing versus talking.
Yes, for sure. But the other thing too is that you can only have a negotiation when both sides are equal. And when you look at our military, exactly, when you look at a military, specifically Iran versus the US, with the damage to the infrastructure that they've received with the issues between them and Israel, like, there is no...
So, do you think that this was actually... Well, I guess it's the same question as I asked, because I was about to ask you if you thought that this was actually warranted, given the comparison that Russia has nukes, and they're in an active war with our allies, the Ukraine.
That's an interesting point, yeah.
It doesn't... I can't say it doesn't seem fair, because nothing's fair.
Right.
But at the same time, that's exactly what this comes down to, and it seems like Trump took a favoritism to just let Putin off while undermining Ukrainian's president, and decided to wrongfully demonstrate, in my opinion, demonstrate with Iran.
That's certainly really interesting. I do view Iran and Russia as different in this situation. So the thing with Russia, one, it wasn't as long as the kind of turmoil between Israel and Iran. Like, that is, I mean, holy wars, like, literally generations of fighting.
Oh, of course.
And not just people,
But
like,
so
terrorists.
Ukraine and Russia.
Well, no. The thing with Ukraine, no, like, you are correct. It was also years. The scale was different, as in, you had, like, for example, the Berlin Wall going down and things like that. So they certainly had turmoil. But when you look at what Russia had...
Ukraine used to be part of Russia.
Yeah. And then with that, one of the big things that led Russia to taking over Ukraine actually wasn't completely unfounded. Honestly, the UN and the US low-key put Russia in the corner. And when Russia got put in the corner, they were like, yes.
They were like acting like a cat in a corner.
Exactly. But, like, to be fair, we got them to that point. So the thing with that is that Russia agreed after, I want to say World War II. And I am sorry, I'm not a history major, but I just find history interesting. But my dates and my info might be incorrect. So I don't want anyone to take this as gospel. So Russia, at the end of, I believe, World War II, they were essentially like, hey, this is the line that we feel comfortable, where we don't want anyone who's against us to be closer than. So they had Ukraine on their side. They had other areas on their side. And then the UN kept getting more people that were, more countries that were close to Russia into the UN and into the global viewpoint of democracy, versus Russia's mindset, which is, we're a global superpower, we are a dictatorship, like, this is how we fly. Everyone around us is on our side or they're enemies. Like, it's very, very clear cut. And the UN and the US kept sneaking up.
That's like I'm the popular kid, and if you don't roll with me, I want everyone to hate you.
I mean, that, if anything, that's what the US and the UN was like. They were like, hey, I know that, you know, you've had Russia here backing you and stuff like that, but come on, like, you know that you want to be with us, you know you want to be on our side. And then they just got more and more countries that were all around Russia, until the point where Russia is literally surrounded by, I don't want to say enemies, but people who are allied with the US and the UN.
So yeah, This
So
is essentially what I
essentially
just said
enemies.
is accurate.
So
they
then-
turn their fellow neighbors up.
Exactly.
Against them.
So, like, I mean, but if you're caught, and then so Russia and the UN had multiple discussions about this. Like, they were like, look, you cannot keep taking the people around us into your group. Like, it cannot happen. You have too many popular kids. It doesn't work. And then the UN was like, I understand. Yo, my bad. I didn't mean to step on your toes. And then Russia was like, here's the hard line. Like, we will negotiate, we'll do whatever. Here's the hard line. You cannot take Ukraine. Hard line. Ukraine cannot join you. It cannot ally with you guys. Ukraine is on our side.
Many moons later.
And then they got Ukraine. And after that, Russia was like, you guys lied to me. Because they made that agreement.
Yep.
And they kept going back on it, and they kept taking in more people surrounding Russia. What is Russia supposed to do? Look, and like I said, I'm not agreeing with Putin. I'm not saying anything like that. This is
what you're saying is
the objective.
Should we really be surprised?
Correct. Yeah, like this is the objective from what I see from my very minimal viewpoint.
Which I think that is incredible, because if we had this conversation maybe 2 years ago, it wouldn't be going like this. I think you would be dead set on USA, USA, instead of understanding, like, no.
Maybe.
We're kind of the bad guys here.
Well, I don't want to say we're the bad guys, but there's no such thing as a good guy, you know?
That's not true.
I think so. When it comes to world
the
politics,
of good guy that we desire so much is fantasy.
that's what I'm saying.
I think
it's not real.
Well,
Like, exactly. Like, you literally just said it can only be in nonfiction.
yeah, that's true. Like, it's unobtainable because we are humans.
Yeah.
And the good guy in everything is not realistic. And I'm not saying like, oh, you know what? Becca said it. Nobody can be good. Let's run amok.
Well, the thing also is that when you look at good and bad, there's always multiple sides. And when you're looking at the world, it's literally me versus you at a world stage. It's not just I have to worry about me. It's I have to worry about me and my 7 million occupants, or my billions. Like, if you're looking at China and that, like, these guys, there's a reason that they do the things that they do. Like, they really want to move the ball forward, and yeah.
By being overly controlling parents. Because like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous that our world leaders are misbehaving like teenagers. But because they have all this power and all these quote-unquote toys, they're misbehaving like dangerous teenagers.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, but this operation, it was a success in America's eyes.
So, even though it was a success, we talked about it a little more. Do you agree with the bombing? Or is it too soon to be
if I had to give an opinion based off the limited information that I know, I would say that, yeah, I can see why. Because the thing is that, like I said, it's not like they were peaceful and then tried to develop this. They have outright shown aggression towards Israel as well as us. Like, there are Iranian agents here in the U.S. They're setting stuff up to mess us up. They also currently have the capabilities to attack our electronic infrastructure, like shutting down, I mean, you know, like all the IT. Like,
yeah, I know.
So,
which, by the way,
that's legit risk.
I just want to put a little bit of information out there. There is a stereotype against those from India, or Indian cultures, and Russian cultures, that those are the hackers. You'd be surprised just how many European hackers are actually caught by cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's because they're not as good. That's why they got caught.
But there are these, I shouldn't say not just European hackers, but many hackers who try to stay under the scope. When they are looking to ransom, they will classify themselves as Russians. And it is baffling how much credit we give to Russia. But Russia is not actually behind a lot of this. I'm not saying they're innocent. No. It's just they're just not as active as many people would assume.
Yeah, you're just saying, like, look outward. Don't just follow, like, oh, it's always the mainstream villain. Like, there's... it's truly a world stage. Totally separate subject. After the rodeo, by the way, there was a random game of cricket,
and they were Indian.
And we went and we played a little bit with them. They let me bat, and I did terrible. I didn't hit the ball once.
I didn't even know Indians knew how to cricket. I thought it was just like an Australian or
British
England thing.
No, it's very very popular. But
and I'm not trying to get hated on, but because I only thought it was English.
Ignorance is not a problem.
I learned something new, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Absolutely. Anyway, so regarding the operation, before we can truly say that it was a victory, because that's one thing, is that everyone's like, yeah, it was a victory, man. We actually don't have the battlefield damage assessment yet, so that's something that they use to visually confirm the effects of the raid. Like, did they actually hit the nuclear arsenal? Is it truly down for the count? They stated that after they had finished the bombing, they got views of a number of different trucks on those locations. So they could have managed to get some stuff out. Like, it's very limited on what we know because this truly happened so recently. But there's a good amount of information that we got, which really only happens whenever they do think that they won. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, if we don't think we're winning, we won't tell it, or we'll lie about it. Vietnam.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, that's about all the info that I have regarding Operation Midnight Hammer. So that has to do with the press conference from the Pentagon, as well as some information from some colonels that ABC was talking to and stuff.
What do you think about there was a flight company, I'm forgetting what they're called now. Airline, thank you. And they canceled everyone's flight this past week and put out statements warning everyone not to fly. What do you think about that? Like, do you think it's coincidental? Do you think it's related?
Ooh, that's a good question. It could be related. I don't know the dates on those. So if they do if they do kind of fall in place with the date of the bombing, it very well could be. It also could have just been an intelligence side. Like, they only wanted our aircraft and our planes in the area, as well as the ships. Like, because they had to maneuver things ahead of time. So they had already posted up into all over the place, really. So I don't know. I really couldn't say, because the world is such an interesting stage. There's so much stuff that it could be. Just because there's this major event doesn't necessarily mean that it's the cause.
I think we are definitely in another threat level, another World War III threat level, especially since every major city has been put on guard.
I don't know about World War. So when I think about a world war, I think about well, no. I just think about multiple, like, main players that come together in agreement, really, that they need to fight. Like, that's essentially what it is. It's not Israel versus Iran. Even if we fought with Iran, that wouldn't instigate a world war, because really, who would be backing them? Like, that's the question, because people love throwing out world wars.
I know,
but a true world war is major superpowers
Yeah.
all working together to fight other major superpowers. I don't see that happening over this situation.
Okay.
If anything, I actually see, this might be a crazy assessment, but I see this as potentially being enough of a show of force from the US to remind some of the aggressors that, like, yeah, we'll still eat you up and spit you out.
So what do you think about the rumor with Russia?
Mm-hmm.
You know how they're still going to boot back with Ukraine. What do you think about the rumor that Italy is getting involved and backing Russia?
That's interesting.
Like, did they not learn their lesson the last time?
That is pretty hilarious. That is very Mussolini of them to do. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't know what their military is like right now. Like, I don't know how powerful they are. I mean, the most that I would give them is like maybe top 20 as far as in the world, but I don't view them as like equal to us or even Russia, really.
Yeah.
And also in response to this, Iran did say that they were going to retaliate, so they made that very clear.
They are retaliating.
They want to retaliate.
Yesterday had issued a statement that we are beyond negotiations at this point. So,
I mean, I get it. We bombed their country.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day,
we have declared war.
No. That is not the same thing. So a single attack is not the same as declaring war. No, like, honestly, like, genuinely.
Can you honestly call it a single attack with the amount of planes that we use?
Yeah, it's still one attack.
That's insane to me.
Really? That's literally, it was...
Like, think about it. That's like you have this one person, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you send in 12 guys to essentially jump him.
One time.
That's still not... No, that's crazy.
But that is literally what it is. Like, I don't know what you're looking for here. That's literally what it is.
That's 12 attacks.
Okay, no, it's not. Becca, no, it's not. All right. So, when you're looking at this, they hit 3 different locations. They did it all in one night at 2 a.m. their time, like in Iran. Mm-hmm. So, that is considered one attack by military tactics. Like, that's what it is. And then in response to it, the U.S. sent over 3 aircraft carriers into the region, which actually hasn't happened since 2003. So just to make sure that, because they're still attacking Israel, that hasn't changed. But
who hasn't sent in since 2003?
The U.S. hasn't sent in 3 aircraft carriers into that region
specifically
since 2003.
3 aircraft.
Yes, correct.
Okay, because I was going to say, we've been in and out of that area.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not saying we didn't have boots on ground. We just didn't have 3 full aircraft carriers.
Okay. I wanted to make sure we were on the same page, but...
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Garcia, I wanted to bring this up to you. Garcia, he was a buddy that I was in the military with. He had asked me if there was going to be a war if I was going to re-enlist.
What did you say?
I told him no, because Becca would have killed me before I got to the recruiter.
You're damn right. I want to see what your response would be, because we've had that conversation
We
before.
have, and I kept saying, yeah, I'll go.
There's another war, I'm re-enlisting. You out of your fucking mind to leave me again.
Damn.
Yeah, for the military. No, not going to happen.
But they need a corpsman. They need a doc.
I will handicap you to the point that you will be restrained to a wheelchair, okay?
There you go. So, climate change?
And I don't care if I get arrested for it.
Dang, that's crazy.
Climate change. Okay, so what a crazy move, right? Switch of topic.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's all I got. Like, everything else would just be...
No, you're good.
Pure...
and like, we always talk about other things in between, so you're good. So climate change. War's not good for climate change.
That's an interesting topic.
It's not necessarily that we're just going to talk about how war is bad for climate change with all the pollution, but we are in deep. We're fucked. Or how do the kids say? We are cooked.
That is how they say it, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you're aware, but have you noticed every year your meteorologist, they work in tandem with multiple scientists who work on the climate change and whatnot. But every year they always say this summer is going to be the hottest summer on record, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, they say that every year, and they kind of blow it off. And what they don't realize is that's a problem, because that means every year we are reaching new record high temperatures. And take this past spring, for example. Let's actually go between autumn and summer right now. Do you remember how crazy the weather was? Like with the rains for our area where we live right now, it's not normal. It's concerning, and it was fluctuating so badly that the sick count was rather high. Because people can't keep up with the change of temperatures and the change of pollen. The amount of pollen that was being distributed this year was hazardous in certain areas. Like, it was visually hazardous. Water temperatures, coral reef bleachings. It's so bad. Part of climate change, we'll talk about pollution as well, because like they do ride in tandem with pollution does the speed up of climate change. So we have had this argument before regarding climate change, the revolutionary time frame,
the industrial revolution. Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say.
That's funny, because I was thinking about that while we were talking too.
It sped things up, technology, of course, and it gave us some amazing things, but it also severely pushed our time clock up for the climate change window. Not really a window. I don't know why they call it a window, because a window of opportunity doesn't last. Whereas saying you have your climate change window, it's like, what are you talking about? This is a long lasting effect. Anyway, so what do you think about that?
Well, before I jump right into that, I do want to look at it from like a 50,000 foot perspective. To me,
from an outer world perspective,
to me, it does help by taking a step back and really understanding what climate change is, because I feel like it is something that people talk about, but they truly don't understand what they're referring to. And I don't mean that in like, I'm smarter than you way. I mean, like, it's a complicated topic, and most people aren't like, hey, I'm gonna learn about climate change today. You know what I mean? Like, no jabs at anyone. It's a topic that, because it's not an immediate threat to us, it is a long-term threat. People are viewing it as, I have a long time to deal with it.
So I disagree, because it's a long-term threat that it's going to continuously affect people, but yes, it does affect you today.
Yeah, no, I didn't say it was a right mindset. I just said I think that's the average mindset.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to explain what climate change is, because not everyone knows. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Okay. So
yeah.
I want to back up.
No, all good. I want to make sure that anyone can follow us along, understands kind of where I'm coming from mentally, so that way we can have a more engaging conversation. So
okay, my bad.
No, all good. So the last ice age, the ice sheets were at their maximum around 20,000 years ago, and then that ended about 11,700 years ago, based on
glacier studies. But yes, to our knowledge.
So 11,700 years ago, that was the end of the most recent ice age. So when we're really thinking about climate change, that's really the starting point, because that's when human civilization was able to thrive to the next level. So when you look at the civilizations that were there, you had the ancient Sumerians as well as the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Sumerians, they started They started their civilization about 6,125 years ago. And then the ancient Egyptians started theirs about 5,125 years ago. So when we're looking at like you said, the Industrial Revolution, like large pickups in humanity, this was one of them. It was the start of government. It was the start of formal writing. It was the start of recording history, other than just drawings, like actual written literature. It was truly the start of a lot of improvements to the human world. Now, there were humans before this time frame, but they weren't able to advance a civilization because of the Ice Age. Now, if there was a more advanced civilization before those, honestly, that very well could have been the case. There's no reason that our existence is linear in intelligence. It's very much more likely that like as a civilization, we have peaks and valleys. Like we'll grow our civilization or our intelligence, and then they'll shoot back down because of whatever, meteor, famine, just civilizations end. But anyways, so when we're thinking about climate change, realistically, 11,700 years ago, we had a major ice age. The first major civilizations was about 6,000 years ago. But when we're looking as far as like the causes of it, it's like the greenhouse gases, like the fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial agriculture and livestock. Like those are the main sources that's causing climate change. Now, defining climate change. So it refers to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. That's really it.
It's like that's the basic of the basic to understand. Yeah.
So any long-term shifts in temperature and weather, that is climate change. So you have a natural line of climate change. Like I said, the world will naturally go through different cycles. And then there is anthropologic climate change, which is something caused by humans. So speeding up the natural flow of climate change. So that's what we're referring to. When you're talking about how like the CO2 levels are at their highest right now in over 800,000 years. Like you said, the average global temperatures have risen 1.2 degrees Celsius since 1880.
It's bad.
Well, a lot of it doesn't sound bad to the normal person. Like, in my viewpoint, to the average person who isn't well-versed, they're going to be like a 1.2% increase since 1880.
One, and they're like, oh, that's a low number. Like, you don't
exactly
understand just how bad that 1% is, though.
Yep. So, it very well could get to, right now, the UN Climate Panel, the IPCC, they're stating that, I should say they're estimating that we'll reach 1.5 degrees Celsius as early as 2030. So that's about a 0.3 degree increase from 1880. So we have done a lot of, as far as a global response to climate change, there has been some. So like in 2015, the Paris Agreement, that's one of the biggest ones. So 196 countries pledged to limit their warming, or I should say the output of their countries to assist in limiting the warming to an ideally a 1.5 degrees Celsius.
That's actually something that was brought up. I don't know if you watch Star Talk, and Neil deGrasse Tyson had a podcast with Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Nye actually was in a conference in the air. He was on Air Force One or something like Marine One. It's not Air Force One. He was on Marine One, and his meeting with Obama was on climate change. And he said that Obama was very receptive and he implemented some of the things, but that was one of the topics that he covered with Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And, like, it's great that at the time that our U.S. President Obama had taken some precautions and was following due diligence on the matter. But, like, we need the rest of the world on the same page and following presidents.
That's the thing when it comes to the biggest contributors of climate change.
China is so goddamn bad. And that's crazy. Like, I'm not a China hater. I actually appreciate their culture quite a bit. But when it comes to trash, Asian countries are horrible. And I'm not saying the U.S. we're saints. Have you seen the garbage barges that go out? Mm-hmm. Or the fact, the trash mountains and just everything and accumulation. It's everyone.
Yeah.
Across the globe. We need to fix our shit.
So just throwing that out there, the top contributors to climate change. So this is the 2023 estimates.
Is
China.
Is Thailand going to be up there?
Thailand?
Yeah.
They're not the top 8.
Okay.
So you've got China at 29%. And this is the percentage of global CO2 emissions, just to be very clear.
Oh, it's just the CO2 recorded? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So China's at 29%, the US is 14%, India is 7%, the EU, which is 27 nations, is 6 to 7%, Russia is 4 to 5%, Japan 3%, Brazil 2%, Indonesia 1.5 to 2%. So together, the top 3, China, US, and India, emit 50% of global annual CO2.
See, that's terrible.
Yeah. And then if you're actually looking at it historically, pretty interesting. The historical emissions since 1750, the US was number 1, 25% of the total historic CO2 came from us. 22% from the EU, total combined. 13% for China, 7% for Russia at that time frame, the former USSR, and India 3%.
See, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's absolutely terrible.
So currently, China's number 1, though.
That's...
Historically, we're number 1.
That's terrible.
But what I will say, though, is that we were number 1, and then we did decrease. So I'm not saying...
we can still work on that.
No, yeah. Like, it's always going to be a thing that we could... It's always a moving goal to try to get better.
Okay, so resuming where we're at, we just had like a security scare.
Well, let's talk about the effects so that way people... Because like I said, saying, it's a 1 degree difference is tough for people to wrap their minds around. Mm-hmm. So some of the effects are like heat waves, droughts, hurricanes, floods.
Yeah. All the same shit that people were like, why is this happening? Climate change.
Yeah.
Like, this is exactly why this is happening.
I mean, those sound like Ohio, California,
Tennessee, North Carolina, with the hurricanes that came through. Was it this past spring?
I think so.
So,
I mean, Mexico's actually dealing with a hurricane right now.
Yes, they are.
They have Hurricane Eric. See, look at that. I'm paying attention to the world.
Good for you. I'm so proud of you.
I'm only doing it for you.
I know, because I got on your case about it.
You did get on my case about it.
Yes.
Rising seas as well, so melting glaciers plus thermal expansion. Oh, actually, one thing that I found really interesting is glacier ice is a differently formed matter than normal ice and snowflakes and stuff. So glacier ice is literally just a lot of snow, so snowflakes that's packed down over years, but the actual molecular level, they're actually formed differently than ice cubes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is that also one of the reasons why bacteria can still live in glacier ice?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Neil deGrasse Tyson for that, because that's where I got that.
That's funny.
Other than melting glaciers, thermal expansion, that's a big one. Ecosystem collapse. Mm-hmm. So coral reefs are dying, species extinction, food and water insecurity, especially in vulnerable regions, and resource scarcity driving instability, which is human migration and conflict. So like I said, we were talking about some of the global response, so the stuff that people were doing. So the Paris Agreement from 2015, the other one was net zero. So that's an aim to balance emissions with removals. And then the COP summits. So they're the yearly global climate talks The most recent, or COP28 was in 2023.
Would that mean that Trump and his administration are in violation of one of these because he has lifted the logging ban on national parks?
I don't know. I don't know the specifics of what was clearly agreed upon by the Paris Agreement, Net Zero, or the COP summits. So I wouldn't be able to say whether or not that's in violation of it.
Yeah, so there's the lifting of the logging bans has been I'm not entirely sure has been executed or not, but that is a threat. And then he's looking to actually clear acres and acres of protected land to make way for residential and commercial, which I don't agree with, obviously. Because what exactly are we going to be leaving our descendants with? Like, this man is trying to turn the world into a concrete jungle. He reminds me of O'Hare. I know this sounds silly, but from the Lorax. Because you remember how the O'Hare wasn't the one to chop down all the trees.
Yeah.
It was the other one. I forgot his name. The one that created the Thebe. But O'Hare took that and made a business out of it to then run his, I don't know if it was like a city or a country, but it was a large population that was surrounded by giant steel walls and surviving on bottled air. And that's because they didn't have fresh air anymore because they didn't have trees.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, it's not going to get that bad. You don't know that.
That is true.
You really don't know that because you're putting in so much trust in this administration. And many people who voted for him were like, well, I didn't vote for this. But you didn't pay attention to who you voted for, or you're in denial because that's who you voted for.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to throw jabs at you because you did vote for this administration.
All good. Trust me, I don't feel attacked.
But yeah, like, this is a genuine problem that we're facing, and it's not a matter of just the American people have to fix themselves, but it's the world populace.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes to it. Like I said, I'm curious about the solutions. Like, that's something that I find really interesting because to me, commenting, arguing about it, saying that other people need to fix it, it really comes down to, like, what are the fixes?
What are the actions behind it? Like, what are we doing about it?
Exactly. Like, one example that I know off top of head was renewable energy resources. So that was like one of the big ones. But solar power, I'm sorry, not solar power. I meant wind. Yes, wind turbines. That is, you know about the wind turbine issue that we're having now, right? That they only last for like 2 years, and then they all have to be completely redone. The cost is immense. The amount of energy it supplies is not as much as they originally anticipated. Like,
so is that actually accurate, or is that just pushed out from the Trump administration because they don't like the way it looks?
That's funny. No. So the noise and aesthetic is a concern. Okay. It kills a lot of birds and bats. Yeah, there's a lot of wildlife concerns when it comes to wind power, both onshore and offshore.
Really?
Yeah.
Did we have this issue when we were just using windmills?
Maybe. But you gotta remember, people didn't care about animals back then. Like, that wasn't a thing.
So we don't even really have a factual statistic as to how this affected wildlife. So go on.
So, and I'm not crapping on wind power 100%. Like, they do have benefits, so no emissions.
There just needs to be a better, safer way of using wind power, if that's what you're getting at.
Well, I'm just throwing out the benefits and the cons.
Okay.
Because I don't have a true fix for it. You know what I mean? But so for the pros, no emissions. It's very cheap in windy areas. It's rapid to build and it's scalable. So all you need is some open space. You got to kill everything that's there, though. So like we got to be honest about that. You got to kill any animals and anything like that that's in the area.
Why do we have to do that?
Because it's a full construction build. Like you're building literally a giant fan. You've got to clear out the space. Nothing that is there is going to live. And then anything that is there that did live will get killed by the turbine itself as it spins. The cons are obviously it is dependent on wind. I feel like that's like one of the most obvious cons that it could have. The maintenance is extremely costly. And then, but some of the fixes that I don't know where they are in the R&D for it, but like new blade designs that reduce bird deaths and noise, offshore wind, it has more consistent wind and less land impact, and use of wind as part of a mixed grid, not the only source. So using multiple things together to get energy. But you've got like geothermal, you have hydropower, you've got solar. Like there are a lot of different opportunities. To me, I feel like solar power is the best one.
I think hydropower is actually the best one because of the velocity that it creates and the voltage that the amplification that runs through the generators. I think hydropower.
So you kill all the fish.
But you don't
destroy the river ecosystems. Yeah, I mean, like they're made in dams. Like they're made in rivers.
But there's actually new hydropower. They're still in testing because they have to figure out how to make it on a large scale.
Yeah, but as of right now,
these are ones that get placed along the river, not obstructing a river, and they put them in multiple locations to show that, like, yes, it's possible to put these in place without damaging the ecosystem. Like wildlife can still stay safe with the precautions that they built into it, and you don't have to obstruct the whole river.
I've seen those
digs out just to the side of the river.
Yeah, I've seen those as a very small.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to figure out how to make on a large scale.
The thing is that I don't know if you can, because the whole point is
to keep the ecosystem safe.
Well, no. Like the whole point at its core is to get energy. Like that's like as far as our human viewpoint, it's to get energy, and limiting the surface area of the mill that's underneath the dam or underneath the river. Like as that pushes through, that's what causes us to gain an electrical current, is the spinning of the
mill.
Yeah,
the water mill.
So you can't get it too big because you'll kill everyone, but then you also can have it small and it could help out for like one house.
Is this why you're so pro nuclear power?
I wouldn't say I'm super pro it. I've heard that it is
clean energy,
safe, clean. The risk is reasonably low. So I don't know, but I think that as far as right now where we are with technology, I think solar power is the best.
Okay.
It's scalable, so do it on every rooftop. You could do full solar farms. So look at like Las Vegas, look at Nevada, look at all these areas that, like here in the Midwest, like all the areas that are just open dead land, all these deserts that literally do nothing but collect sunlight.
We can definitely have power plants out there.
Yeah, like a solar farm there, to me, that is the number one way, the lowest impact.
We have solar farms out here in Illinois.
Yeah. No, this technology already exists. I'm just saying that if we're looking for large scale, like scaling it up to the next level, I think solar power is what we're going for. Yeah. I mean, obviously,
we have to develop better technology, though, for solar power.
You think so?
Yeah. Because, like, we're not harnessing it at the best that we could.
Ooh, I know the science behind this. So we can't. All right. I I don't want to go crazy with this. So the technology has reached the limits of how we can collect the matter at this point in life. So basically, you have your solar shield that's there, and then the sun hits it. That then collects neutrons, and I am so sorry if I'm saying this wrong. It collects the neutrons and then it puts it in a battery. And the way that it works, the battery has open it's essentially has open cells, but they're like lined up. And so the neutrons will then go in, or maybe electrons, but they'll go in to and fall in place to wherever they are. But the more full it is, that's why the time frame is so long on like recharging like a Tesla and stuff like that. Like, it's because you're limited based off of how fast the electrons themselves go into place.
If you try to force it to go faster, you'll cause a melt. Your battery will melt. It'll catch fire, for starters. Or if how drastic you're being, you'll actually cause it to explode. So, yeah, safety, guys.
But I think solar power is good. I think it's very scalable. It's the cheapest electricity in many regions. There's no moving parts. It's low maintenance. It's good for rural and off-grid. Obviously, one of the biggest cons is that it doesn't generate at night. It's intermittent, so it needs battery storage and grid support. So you do need someone there who's changing out the batteries and watching that.
It's acceptable to hazardous weather.
Yep. And but I like it. I think that that's one idea I have for a company, is if I wanted to go into energy.
Oh God, we have enough solar salesmen.
No, not selling it. Not selling it itself. Selling just the energy. So like opening up a solar
energy supplier.
Yes, correct. So setting up a solar farm in an open space.
I think we
and
have
then selling
people like that, don't we?
Yeah, no, it exists. It's just an idea that I have. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that I invented an idea or anything. But yeah, so that's.
I'm not trying to be rude. I was just curious. Like, that was a question.
All good.
More of like, we already had that, dummy. No, it wasn't that. It was a question. But that's cool.
Yeah.
Another con, unless you said this already, but another con for the solar panels is that they're not cleanly crafted.
Okay, you'll have to elaborate.
So like, their factories aren't as bad as the chip factories, but they come close to it.
So you're saying like the raw materials for it, like for example, like how we get lithium from one specific area. Is it lithium? Is that what I'm thinking of? The thing that's used in our phones that comes specifically from one area essentially in the world, and it's just 100% slave labor. So everyone who has a cell phone essentially bought it through
blood money.
Yeah.
It might be lithium. I can't remember.
That doesn't sound right though.
But I know lithium is the whole reason why you can't just throw, or you shouldn't just throw your phone and anything else that has a battery in the trash can when it's reached the end of its life.
I feel like I'm wrong on that. I feel like it's not lithium. I can't remember now.
I mean, we can always go into a deeper dive if you want to research it at all, but yeah, so when it comes to making these clean energy solutions, we have to make sure it's cleanly assembled, gathered, assembled, crafted, whatever you want, whatever type of technical. God damn it! What am I trying to say? The wording, whatever type of wording you're trying to use, it has to be clean. Like, that's one of the whole issues with Tesla.
Are you gonna elaborate? Keep going.
The Tesla batteries.
Okay.
Horrible on the environment. Great cause for why they exist, but the recycling of a Tesla is just so. You know, and I'm not saying this to stir the pot in politics. It's because, you know, with Tesla's CEO. It is Tesla's very deeply under fire because of his actions regarding German culture, but that could be another topic. Or just not talk about it, I don't know. But yeah, I think that when I know I'm derailing a little bit, I think that when it comes to making clean energy solutions, we have to be clean through and through, from start to finish.
I think that you don't get innovation without the dirty stuff. I think you've got to go through multiple iterations.
Don't you think, though, that we've had enough time to, at this point, that we shouldn't even have to be still going in this rut? Like, we've gotten to a point where you want an invention? No problem. Because at this point in time, you've got an idea we could put in a factory today. So, in my opinion, we shouldn't still be having to get dirty to be clean.
Well, energy is unique about that, though. Anything that has to do with matter at the core level like that, that's a different story. Because it's something that has to work across a major infrastructure, because it has to be available and something applicable for different countries, for different cultures, different ideas. I like the idea, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I just think that you've got to go through the dirty. I think that we have made a lot of improvement as far as technology, inventions, manufacturing, especially things like that, but we're not gods. We do still have the scientific method to have an idea, test it, see if it works, and then you just keep going like that. Truly, at its core, science has not changed.
Well, I don't think you have to be gods, though, to achieve what I would like to see achieved. I think that when it comes to advancing science, there are too many that are afraid. And I'm not saying being cautious is afraid. There's a difference. But there are too many afraid of what could be from different individuals around the world that prevent progress.
I mean, yes and no. So I actually have one of the C-suite execs from Combat Connect. I chatted with him kind of recently, and he's actually in an energy company right now. And they are still in the startup phase. They've only been around for a few years. And they are trying to develop clean energy. That's their entire business model. All very secret. They have multiple scientists in the company that are working, and they are actively trying to find a new way to harness and control energy. They've been at it for years, and they have to continuously find funding somewhere, and because they're not making money through their own operations. Does that make sense? In R&D, not really though. In research and development, it's all spending. Literally all you do is spend money on shit that doesn't work. So that is literally what research and development is.
Okay, so if you're research and development, but you don't have any output, can you consider yourself successful?
No, and they're not. That's why they're in the startup phase. Essentially, for any company, if you're in the startup phase, that's not success. Because you don't call yourself a startup, you call yourself a business. Does that make sense?
I guess.
It's just it's more of a wording thing when it comes to companies, but that's kind of the real.
About the idea of harnessing volcanic energy?
I don't know enough about the transfer of heat to develop electricity, because I think that's essentially what it is. You're extracting heat, or you're using heat in a way to develop energy that can then be transferred and used for other things. So when I think of heat energy, honestly, the first thing I think of is the combustion engine. So using gas or ethanol to rapidly heat something up and then using the heat that way. I also think of steam energy, so using it in the sense of not the heat itself, but the production of the heat causing a gust of wind, kind of, where the steam rises, finding a way to use that energy. Thinking of like coal, how we used to use coal and like trains and things like that to move it. Like I get the idea. I don't know enough about the science to truly give you like a good answer on it, you know?
Very well. We don't have to go too far into it. I bring it up because it's a rather fascinating idea of energy usage. Like how to even safely obtain it. I'm not aware if anywhere on this world currently does volcanic energy usage. To my own knowledge, there is none, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I think it would be a real turning point for natural energy usage. Now, whether or not it would be clean is a different topic, because if we're using it, how are we using it? You know, how are we harnessing it? There's another subject, going back to your solar energy, of spatial solar panels.
Spatial solar panels. So something
Solar
that, like a
panels
satellite that you put out?
in space.
Yeah, okay.
That transfer energy from space stations to Earth. Mentality on that.
Yeah, what would the transfer look like? Because if anything, you would lose, unless you had a physical connection to it, and that's...
Like you think through like a space elevator or something.
Yeah.
Along that route. I don't know if it would need something like that, or if carriers would go to and from space stations.
That's an interesting thought.
So I would assume that would be considered nuclear energy at that point, with it being such high velocity and so close to its energy source.
No, the base component which causes the energy is different. That's what makes it nuclear.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can also see, like, for example, using maybe a reflection or something from space and then pushing that. No, because then you'd have to take into account the orbit. And I don't know if with the speed difference between something that's closer to Earth and then something farther away out in the atmosphere, I don't know if that would work either. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Like I said, I'm not a scientist. I do like science, and I am very interested in different things about it. I'm actually more interested in engineering lately than science. I like more of the physical instead of the theoretical side.
Interesting.
But anyways, yeah. All right, we're an hour in. You got anything else for us?
No, I'm good for today.
All right.
For joining me on Becca's Brain Farts.